Thank you all so much for joining. The essentially the main thing to kind of take away with this comic was I had a lot of fun merging the idea of like how can I say like basically like this like flickering light effect, right? Was all just because I got such a dark result out of Vicky with this one that I was like, oh, that's like spooky. Like that'll be fun to, play around with. So when I panned over and included Sage's art, it also kept this kind of darkness to it. But her face was super, super dark originally. So I actually went in Photoshop and cleaned up her face and made it way nicer, way more balanced to the rest of these images. Almost all the work I'm doing is color correction. um, but when it comes to like the progress of this comic, it all actually started on the top left panel here. This on the second page, top left of Vicky. This generation here is largely as is, as in like Sage was here in the middle, and then I panned up and Vicky was there, and then I created Vicky's character sheet entirely off of that single generation of image, like this one right here. So I consider her an organic find. Like I just kind of stumbled on her, and I was like, yes, yes, that's the character I want. So I was also really glad that one of the artists that are like, that do only black ink traditional work noticed the fact that like she falls back in her seat and binks the or dinks the desk, causing the old screensaver to go away. And that was supposed to elude the fact that she's almost done with her work that day. I was so happy that someone was like, "Hey, that's a nice touch." Um, and overall, I am mostly trying to show here just a little bit of like a little bit of tension in the workplace kind of thing. I really didn't know what to do with these characters later on. I just really wanted to have this sort of this goofy character as opposed to my normally like villainous like evil, like not evil, he's not evil, but like is more darker sort of like macabre stuff I do with Victor. I wanted to have Vicky be like the exact opposite. I wanted Vicky to be just like a klutz and essentially just a big bumbling derp. Um, so that's what I hope I accomplished with this, and I was really happy with the results. But you'll notice that the backgrounds are all tuned to each other, so they are all in line with each other. They all come out of this same liminal space tune, and it really shows. It really shows just the consistency that we're getting in the storytelling and whatnot is all because I did that. So very, very cool. There's still plenty of color correction and stuff I did apply. Like there was no blue floor in the original. It's all just kind of this empty space. But um, most of it's coming from the fact that I trained it on images of the previous comic, which includes the blue IBM building in the background. And I wanted this to be kind of this big haunting structure. So um, yeah, there you go. I hope you could tell that there's like now like a derivativeness between this first panel of this last comic to every other panel that's here, because that's essentially what's happening. Um, but inside of my Discord here, I have let's see here, a original characters list here, and we'll be getting into soon here in a minute. But the most recent one is actually of and I'll open this up over here so it's a little bit more obvious. So this is Vicky. She is my gender bent version of my OC here. Vicky is quickly one of at least one of my more popular characters. I was pretty surprised at how many people really just wanted to instantly start prompting with her and stuff. And for you guys, I'll give you all Vicky here. And the way that this works is if you go to VC Create, um, you'll see here I'll scroll down here. If you go to VC Create, I'm gonna go to the way bottom here, and I'm actually just going to prompt Vicky here real quick. So I have Vicky saved inside of my Midjourney account. And we'll get into saving characters here in a minute. But let's just do I usually start off with a word only prompt in order to kind of get better control or direction of the characters, because otherwise we're just going to get a bunch of like headshots basically. So I have a theme which is 90s office space, and then I usually say like short ponytail, her, and let's just do suit and tie. That's usually my base setup for her, and I'll just give it kind of an arbitrary aspect ratio. The my workflow essentially uses word only prompts as puppets, and those puppets dictate like loosely the direction and action for the frame. So once you have a completed like character sheet like I show here, like where there's multiple poses and angles, especially multiple expressions, as long as every image that you inject is or that you include inside of your character sheet is unique, this should work great. So you'll notice here that the initial results that we get are pretty sterile. It's just kind of like staring at a girl, standing there. But if we now give it direction, we can basically get Vicky to do stuff inside of this 90s office space. But so I'll just give her a little bit of direction here. Let's do let's have her running through uh yeah, let's just running through the 90s office space. We'll see what that gets us. Just to get us something to start with that's a little more interesting than this. And maybe a little bit closer to a full body here. And the reason I'm not starting off with just doing an image blend is because I want to show you guys exactly what happens when we do it as a remix injection, as I call it anyway. You'll notice here we're still going to get a lot of like face fronts like this, and the way I have been doing it for my comics to make it so the character is like not dead center like this in the feature set, like the feature set being like the main subject in the middle. I usually just say at the beginning, watching a coworker running through a 90s office space. And the idea being here is that we're more evoking that there'd be like like a distance or a longer shot, because you have to uh, maybe show the person who's watching as well. So we'll see what kind of results we get out of here. And the main thing that I'm trying to show here is that we're really, and we're there we go. That's what I'm looking for, is the bottom right. You can see already with this kind of rough preview that we get, we can tell that the composition is a little more of what I was aiming for, a little farther away from camera. And so now that I have something that I kind of think will work, I go and just hit variation on here. I have Vicky saved as various different URLs, and we'll get into that in a minute, but I'll just write Vicky here. Vicky's code will not work for you guys unless you have all the URLs, and you'll get them in just a moment here. But at the end here, I add Niji. So we basically have all of our image codes in the front, and then Niji at the back. And what I'm effectively doing here is a style transfer. I'm converting it to a more anime-like aesthetic, because I'm switching to a different data set here. So and there'll be some other prompts and stuff from other folks. Maybe it's already going hard on a couple different office space stuff here. But you can see the result that we get though compared to our character sheet here. Take a look at this. All right, so that's her running. Like if I now look back at this character sheet here, it's incredible what a style transfer can do in order to kind of create the this super clean result. So now I can just expand on this one and and we can kind of see. But if I now post this, and I'll actually grab this for you guys here, copy link, and I'll post this inside of VC text. Any ideas how to fix any audio related to me? I don't know, man. I'm so sorry. It's usually just logging in and out will fix that, but um at least for Kinky and AC, they like log in and out, and sometimes that works too. But I can always try that if it's like a mass problem for people. Um, but what I mostly want to show you guys is inside of VC Create here. Um, you can see that when we did the style transfer, we essentially got what my direction was, which was the word only prompt. But it's dominated by the art aesthetic of the images that were included in Vicky's codes here. And I'll open these up so you guys can see. They're all just various poses of her from the character sheet. It's really just it's just a selection or an image blend. But the unique in the really what makes this work so well is the fact that we are injecting them in as we do the variation. So we'll get into how to save your character a little later today. But the main thing here is to notice like you can now could just copy all these URLs and save them into your Midjourney account, or you can just copy and paste them manually into every prompt moving forward. But this lets us be able to, now that we see that Vicky's here and whatnot, we can just hit variation strong and kind of see what sort of other angles and directions we get out of this. Um, the benefit of kind of tweaking the live action puppet, like how Mavis is kind of doing here, is that you can really hone in the artifacts or problems that might happen. So like right now, we're not running into any problems with the fact that she has a different colored jacket and she's wearing shorts. That didn't impact the results at all here. But now that we have this like working successfully, I can just keep remixing. Thank you, Mavis. I love being able to recognize that it's instantly you. Like this one right here. This is that's certainly Mavis. So just to kind of show this really quick, we can do just a style transfer on this too, just by adding Niji at the end, and that's just gonna change it to anime dataset. And since it's a variation subtle, it won't change the composition much. It'll try to preserve as much of like the angle position of the arms, the head, everything like that will try to stay the same. So yeah. Uh, this looks like another alien blue prompt from Mavis coming up here in a sec. Um, but what this essentially does is make it so that it changes the rules of the of the shapes, the manifolds that are behind every generated image you make. So when we run /tune, it actually lets us be able to hone in what those rules are. And yeah, I mean it's certainly drawn Mavis here. I like, yes, thank you for upscaling that one. That's the right one to upscale. I like this. This is great. You can have fun with that. I'm just gonna let Mavis have fun with that for a minute. But so you can see here that when I did the variation strong, because we have all of our image references are rather like in depth, like they're it's a nice big list of images there. It can kind of cycle through all of our options in a way that's super dynamic and interesting. So this is how I make most of my comics now, is by doing this kind of style injection remix sort of thing. So and if you don't mind, Kinky, if you can link the tutorial, I can also grab a link if it's a trouble. But um, the main thing is that this kind of completes a lot of my tutorials, being able to say like, all right, this, now that we have repeating continuous characters that can be easily brought back into prompts, then the only thing we need to do is try to keep the style similar or the same. So I created a /tune based off of my previous comics, and this will probably improve over time in terms of like this getting or at least this method getting refined here. But I created a little kind of guide here on my Instagram, and I'll go ahead and post this inside of VC text for you guys too. Um, so what I did here is I explained how I use slash tune to create a liminal space that is in line with my comic style. My comic style being Franco-Belgian inspired anime. That's my it's kind of funny that that came up because like I grew up on Jomek and Sosuke and Wusuke comics and stuff like that and drew fan art for it without ever actually knowing how to speak Flemish. It was all just looking at the art and drawing it. I would ask my mom like, "Oh, what's happening here?" And he's like, "Oh, he stubbed his toe and he's very angry." Like little things like that was like I was like I got that he's angry. I just didn't know what the actual curse word was. Like that like stuff like that. It wasn't actually cursing, but just little moments with family is what I remember most with that, growing up doing fan art. So, um when I started drawing a lot of this stuff, I was like, okay, I don't know if it really is going to understand what I mean by Franco-Belgian, so let's just throw it in there. And it gave me great results, but they were also very, very advertisement. Like it looked like 1960s or 70s like men's magazine sort of stuff. So I have to use my image references to kind of guide the line art, to guide the fact that I want to keep this more anime like aesthetic. So the goal of this at the end of the day though is to make backgrounds or assets or even character sheets that are more in line with my natural like hand drawn aesthetic. Which basically means the line art and stuff is going to be more simplified. It's going to be big dots for eyes and things like that. So the only thing I did here was grab a bunch of references from my comics, blend them all together as an image prompt, and then I just selected the results that I felt like matched the closest to what my comics were. Um, and what that made was a very like liminally inspired code, but it's so clean for my backgrounds. Like it looks so good for this. Um, and it essentially lets us be able to establish a form of identity within our prompts, and that's huge, guys. Like that's honestly going to be the thing that, like, I think slash tune is some of you guys are going to be keeping your style codes very close to your hip. Just because they're going to be so defining. And it may even be that, like some people are going to get angry at each other for using each other's codes and like weird little infighting and stuff. I can see that happening now. But we have uh we have this sort of example here where we start off with the style code that this was based off, the liminal code, and I'll share that here in a minute. And then I injected Vicky into there, and then I style transferred to Niji to kind of bring it back to anime, and injected Sage at that point. This is all done with image references, so very cool. And then you can also combine codes by putting a hyphen in between two code numbers, and it makes it like they kind of travel between each other. It's really cool. I really do like slash tune. It really makes a huge difference for me. Um, and uh, and then lastly, I show off how I actually do some sketching as well, to where I'm directly drawing into um, first I draw in the Photoshop, but then I copy that little sketch, bring it into Photoshop, and essentially, sorry, bring it into Midjourney, and tell Midjourney to output like 40 40 rough versions of it, and I have a video on that my YouTube as well. Yeah, I'm working on a lot of real fun stuff for another Victor comic, guys. Like this is gonna be some real cool like almost Lynchian, but it's more going along the lines of like I don't know. It's definitely going to be taking us to a weird space. All right. So here is the liminal code. No, it's just a play on you saying, "Oh, it's just you playing some Franco-Belgian anime style." Yeah, yeah. No, I'm dumb. I'm sorry about that. Um, but what I'm gonna do here is I'll check out all of Mavis's silly stuff here. I mean, look at this. It's all line art. Like that looks great. He looks very well drawn in that. But what I've noticed with this right, exactly. Take on me. So let's do chatting with a coworker. And the only reason I do this prompt so much is because with this specific code, it kind of looks like a Tim and Eric skit. That's what it should do in my experience. If it doesn't do it, I'm gonna go back to my other prompts and um find the ones where it's very much like a Tim and Eric skit, because you guys could basically infinitely generate your own episode of Tim and Eric with this code. Um, it's really kind of intense actually. Um, but the yeah, okay, so this one is actually just kind of comic spaces here. So let's go for a different thing here. This one's just comics here. So let's and that's great. I mean, like it like I said, I trained this to be kind of to be complementary to Sage's comics. So you're gonna get a lot of these kind of like 2D line art kind of stuff here. But I'm going to pull up. Let's just say empty office here, or just let's do 90s office first, and then also empty office, just so I can really force the liminal kind of look here. Oh, look at that! You guys are already going hard on some really fun stuff here. Um, grab that again. Empty office. Empty office space. Let's just do that. it's like it's like I don't know, some sort of like celestial plane, and they're just having coffee. That's great. Um, but you'll oftentimes get this kind of like high up angle as well, which is useful for any kind of like establishing shot, like in comics and whatnot. But this code really shines when the live action kind of like comes back into it. Um, so the empty office spaces is basically how you make like this like liminal world, right? And let me switch though over to this here. Yeah. So what we can do is, yeah, look at some of this weirdness here. So we could say like cubicles in a row in front of a let's just say like abandoned office, or let's just say abandoned theme park, and get rid of office space. So we can just see what we get off of this one here. So at least what I have found when I'm messing with this code in particular is I find like plates like very useful assets for um like just any sort of like comic that I'm kind of aiming to do. Like the office space ones are easy because I'm just like, okay, I need this to be just rows of chairs or tables or anything like that. And this just kind of gives me something that tends to not really be too um it's this like weirdly calming or haunting, depending on the result here. So let's try something else here. I want to kind of do a different aspect ratio, and uh let's say um mm, let's do like a maze garden. See what we get off of that. I've noticed that, especially when it comes to like lobbies and plazas. I'll pull this up from my stuff here. It's just Babe is putting himself inside of liminal space. Yes, you're trapped there now. Um, uh, and let's just scroll up a little bit while we got these. Okay, yeah. So here's the mazes here. And you can see we get again like this kind of asymmetrical or like this isometric sort of view from I wouldn't say even isometric. I would just say that's kind of an overhead almost video game like view on this one. Not really what I was looking for, but Marianne definitely definitely making some of this like really great pattern stuff. I really let's see what their image reference is here real quick. In fact, I really shouldn't just blindly click links. So okay, cool. I see. Um, it's this pattern here, which you can see is getting now replicated into the floor, into the walls, all that sort of stuff. So we can we can kind of at least let me do this really quick because I really do want to show you guys this, but I have to look at my library real quick to kind of dig into that. Um, it should be Office, and then let me dig into this real quick. There's a lot of backrooms feel that you're gonna get out of this stuff. I mostly want to um, I'm really trying to find my my favorite like super awkward prompts that I was able to kind of make with this. The should have had this part prepared ahead of time, but um, let's go with okay, that's what I'm forgetting here. I'm gonna first just post one of these here. The main thing with this style code is it really benefits from telling it a camera angle. That's what I forgot here. So we're gonna do a wide angle. And then I'm also going to give it a nice wide aspect ratio as well. Oops, let me swap myself back over here. Okay. So I have wide angle, low shot, empty 90s office space, long line of cubicles, long window view of skyline. Let's just see what we get out of that. Um, and uh, and if we kind of like come back to some of my prompts here, you can see I was really trying to hone in some of these dark spaces for the little tutorial on /tune. So lots of cool stuff you can basically get really good consistency in your in paints as well. Um, but I was like getting some really cool, just like busy office spaces just off of 90s office prompt, right? But as soon as I start injecting the style code, everything is like super consistent in a way that makes it really easy for me to just throw it in a comic and see what happens. Um, so yeah, let's go ahead and get back to our prompts here. So you can see the kind of empty offices now that this is generating is very functional for me because I can just pop my characters in there, you know. Um, and now the abandoned office cubicles and stuff. This is where we get into kind of weirdo land, where we get into really spooky places. I'm gonna upres this one to kind of emphasize the spooky. Um, so this feels so real to me. Like it feels like I shouldn't be here. I am I need a place to sleep. Yeah, I feel like I really shouldn't be here. Like that's what I get from this. So let's explore this particular image a little bit. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I would always just be worried that there's like a guy sleeping under one of those desks. You know what I mean? Like, oh, like just like, oh no, I just ruined that guy's day and he's gonna let me know about it. But the the custom, if I hit custom zoom here though, and I switch the zoom to 1 so it doesn't actually zoom, I can just switch the aspect ratio now to basically anything, and it's just going to stretch the image out so we can see what's to the left and right at the same time instead of panning. And the reason I do this is just because like it lets me be able to very quickly go like, okay, it's not going to be referencing the side of the image that I'm panning. So if I hit left here, for example, it's only going to see the left side of the image and then try to extend that. If I do a custom zoom, not only is it going to like refer to the whole image in this way, but it'll also let me add additional information. Okay. So let's make this properly scary. I'm going to grab a character from the interwebs. Um, and I he's known as Smiley Ghost. Um, or just Smile Ghost. And if you're familiar, if you're there's a couple of Gen Zers that might know who this character is. I'm not a Gen Zer. I know about this because of because of streamers and stuff. But if I now add a custom zoom or a pan, right, we can now include this image inside of the prompt, inside of the custom zoom. And so I'm going to switch this back to 1, and then I'm going to make this like ultra wide, and we're going to hit 3. So it's going to be 3 times wider than it is tall. And for the image here, let's just do like let's we'll just do emoji mascot and leave that in the prompt. Just we'll see what that gets us here. But while that's running, let's see what the other custom zoom did in the meantime. So now we can take a look at this. There is there's some like serious abandoned space like potential out of these kind of custom zooms, because you just get the whole image right away. Like everything is just there. Um and we didn't change anything about the prompt. We just let it know, oh, we want a wider image, okay? So if I wanted to do a horror story, this would be really easy to do with this kind of custom zoom method. And I see Mavis is having fun putting things in liminal space. It's perfect. So we have a couple other zooms and things that other folks have done. Awesome. But now you could see the one with the emoji guy is showing up here. Let's see what we get out of this. Okay. Suddenly it looks a lot more like a video game, first off. Um this this one, the top left one here is top right one is pretty good because it's just a big face. You have, yeah, it works. I mean, like it lets you just kind of play around with image references and kind of play with it. But now I should be able to upres this second one here. And what we'll do is we'll do a variation strong. Keep in mind, like all the text is inside of, like all the prompts and stuff are inside of here. So we should be able to keep some element of this relatively like consistent or weird. If I now do a variation subtle on this as well, we might get a different face there. Oh, look at this. Look at that. Yep, you're getting chased. Getting chased by the smiley ghost guy. Here we go. I can't believe that we're actually getting legs on him. I have yet to like successfully make this character like work the way I want him to. So seeing this is pretty funny to me. He's like mostly there. um and so Senior Carlos, the monster in the corner. Yeah, look at that. It's certainly there. Um and you could see when we did the variation subtle, it gave him like a little hand, or it was subtle or strong. Yeah, this is subtle. You could see that it like changed the background and stuff, but it gave him a little hand. But it's essentially just going to try its best to kind of hold the compositions with subtle. If and it with strong, it gives you something that's far more like, okay, this is maybe what you're actually looking for. I like this third one here. Um, and we can essentially just hit make square on this one and see what other kind of like characters are here. I do think this could be a pretty fun kind of like, oh, I'm in a very boring prison, that kind of thing. Look at that guy. It's like the scene from Tremors where the worm pops up through the basement, and they're like, oh, you picked the wrong basement, and it's just all guns. Like that's one of the best scenes in cinema. I love that scene. Um, so yeah, now we have our like squared, like expanded one. I really like this fourth one because there's like characters all the way in the back, right? So like I'm gonna zoom in on this here. Look at that. That's pretty fun actually. Um, It's very much like we're in a video game loading space and you're just watching the characters walking around. Cool, 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 cool. All right. At this point, Mavis is trying to turn himself into a gator. Um, but I wanted to show you guys the liminal code here. At least my like liminal like cartoonist code or whatever. The reason I wanted to do this is because like I do think that there's a lot of potential in you guys kind of exploring doing more of the scouting side of things. Um so like let's just do like I don't know, Argentina. Just something just a location itself. Just yes, we are location scouting. We're if you're gonna yeah, it really it's so important for film to actually like get out there and and shoot on location for a lot of stuff. So like green screens are just they're good, sure. Like there's nothing wrong with them, but I would much rather be able to like properly like properly absorb a space before you go, okay, I'm going to shoot here, I'm going to make the story about this space or whatever. You got to go. Okay, let's take a look at Argentina with the minimalist code here, because this is actually pretty cool looking. Um, you got like a unicorn looking thing. That's cool, and I really like this. I don't know how much this looks like Argentina, but I really do like it. Super neat space. Um, right, exactly. Um, and we can go even farther than this. Like let's do somewhere specific in Argentina, like San Pablo or something like that. Let's see. Um, what is the name? Argentina. And then San Juan. Okay, it's San Juan. Actually that already kind of looks like it, but that's fine. Um, we'll do we'll just see where that kind of takes us here. Ooh, Schwarzwald. Um, why do I think that's like fantasy like Norway in the summer? You know what I mean? Like I love these kind of empty forested spaces with this code. It kind of reminds me of like the opening of Twin Peaks in a way. So yeah, I am certainly a fan. Um, the more drawn it looks, it's kind of funny. I tend to not like it as much, right? And I know that's kind of ironic, but like it really just comes down to the fact that like I really like making these kind of uncomfortable spaces. But the thing is, this code will not do that. What it's going to do is it's going to make things pop in a way that feels very like oh no one's living there, like no one's there, but it's there, and that's what's kind of spooky about it, right? So when we did San Juan, Argentina, we got all these colors, we got all these poppy sort of buildings and stuff, but there's no people. It's just empty. There's something about this tune code that really like locks in the idea that either there's only one subject and that's it, or uh, or more importantly, there's nobody there. It's just kind of empty. So like if I now say like let's try to force two people in a room. Let's say like the and I'm not gonna do food again. I'm gonna do something a little better than that. Let's do arm wrestling. Let's do like two men arm wrestling and just see what we get. This is trying to force people into a code that is seemingly largely designed to avoid generating people. So should get an interesting result out of that. I think the main thing that kind of at least that makes this work is the fact that a lot of the realism stuff that comes out of this tends to feel very like isolating. Like it almost like it feels a very real moment, but it also feels like, you know, the wrong thing is the fact that you're the only one there. You know what I mean? Like um I I feel that a lot whenever the space is consumed by darkness. Um you know what I mean? Like there's just this kind of like Oh, and I do like this little character that's floating here, so I'm gonna upres that one. So if for any reason you can't hear me, by the way, it's you might need to disconnect and reconnect. It is a Discord thing, not a thing on my end, I don't think. Yeah, it's all it's a meetup. Yeah. The basically ambiguous. You just need to actually disconnect from the chat here, and then you can reconnect, and it should work for you. Um, but yeah, I guess the thing that I kind of pull out of this though is that when we start to like bring people into the equation, what is largely given us like isolated empty spaces, when you start to mix people in, it starts to feel very much like this like kind of weird skit. Like again, like we're on a set and there's like it's just empty, right? So I mostly want to show um let's actually try to force this one real quick here. I'm gonna say that let's do an interview, a job interview, and we'll see what we get off of that. Just very simple prompts, right? Um, but in terms of like some of the stuff you guys are making here, I see that there's a couple different style codes, coming in and out. Um, I love these kind of like overhead shots with the umbrellas here, right? Because again, we're getting this kind of like photo stuck in time, or just like a photo moment that really shouldn't happen or shouldn't look the way it does. Um, and I see this is a beautiful style that you got going on here. Let me actually open this up. This sort of like combination of almost like stop motion water in some of these, like especially that last one looks like something I can imagine on a stop mo set. My at the end of my codes, I have a like an aesthetic code. Hey, look, it's Africa on the top there. But yeah, overall, I tried to at least let me just pop back over here. There we go. Yeah, yeah, I at least want to explore this job interview here because it's we got lizard men. We got lizard men. Okay, I'm gonna upres that one because it's too silly. Uh, all right, there we go. We have our lizard men interview here. I'm gonna hit variation strong on this just because I'm curious now. What sort of what sort of silliness this will get us here? We can also, if we wanted to, just convert that to Niji really quick and take a look. And the thing is this style is not, this was tuned inside of base mid journey, not Niji, right? So we can just switch it to Niji, or we can make our own slash tune inside of Niji in order to, force that sort of anime aesthetic. And I have not tried the funny webcomic prompt with it yet. We should do that. Let's do that too. That sounds fun. I'll copy this. Oops. Go with, yeah, there's the code here. Funny webcomic, her, and blonde. I know that's what you guys are doing too, because that's my like base prompt for Sage stuff. But oh wow, that's, yeah, some of this like floating in the water stuff is super cool. I really dig this. Um but so let's take a look at the liminal space webcomic. And it's super cute. It's just sort of like it slice of lifey almost. So like if I now come into here, hit variation strong, I'll add Sage to the front of that because I have her saved in my mid journey as well. And we'll just take a look at how that looks. Some of these are really cute actually. So like the top right one would probably work for a Sage comic too. So I'll hop off of who's this here? Lizzie? Yeah, I'll bounce off of Lizzie here and I'll do Sage on that one. And Let's take a look at here. You guys combining codes is so cool to see. To see like liminal versions of like Ural's styles that you've tuned is super cool to see. Um, so this one is Boken just did a straight prompt of just lizard. What is it? Police interrogation lizard men. That's really fun. Let me actually swap on over to here real quick. Get rid of all these windows. I'm just trying funny webcomic with a few tunings to see the difference. Cool, cool. That code is made out of codes of colors in my black and white code. Nice, nice. Um, very cool, guys. Very cool. Let me pop us back over to VC Create here. I mostly have this open in this window now, just so it's a little bigger. So when I injected Sage into the funny webcomics, we got one of them that's relatively decent. I would say like the top left one's okay in terms of the format of a comic. You can just add text and make that make sense. The bottom right one looks a little better in terms of like maybe she's just lost her keys at the park or something. You could contrive some sort of story out of those. And that's the thing about doing any of this kind of like at least variation strong in the character art is that it's going to take away a lot of the webcomic. It's suddenly going to go away. But if we then take any of these and convert them to Niji, for example. So let's take this first one here. Okay, we have this. I'll hit variation subtle, come back to the style here, remove the style, and head Niji into there. And what this should do is it swaps this data set out. So we're basically going to see like all the same image references are here. But we, instead of it being influenced by like anime and mangas, and it's not going to preserve a lot of this 4-panel meta, if we were to prompt it as an Niji prompt, what should happen with the variation subtle is that we preserve the meta, the meta comic. So we'll see how that looks. And there's a lot of like fun, wacky stuff that you guys are going to be able to make with this. But you could see that with the anime prompt, or sorry, with the style transfer to Niji, we kept the 4-panel. A lot of them don't make sense, but also a lot of them are like they tell like a mood or an emotion that you can like explore and just kind of see what you can do with your own art. Very cool. But now let's pop back over there and try that as a strong and see what happens. Take away the style. Right Niji. And we'll see what that does here in a sec. Doubling back really quick. Funny webcomic about a detective. Yes. I like these. They're really cute, actually. And that's also using the liminal code. So cool, cool, cool. I keep calling a liminal code. I just call it that to differentiate it. But alien encounter with the code. Oh, that looks cool. That I like that. I really like this third one here. Actually, I'm gonna upres that. Again, I really like these floating water ones. All right, so when I switched it to Niji, with the job interview one here, we got some really cool results out of this. All right, I'm going to upres that first one because the giant monster, like holding the monitor, could be a cool thing to prompt for later. The second one kind of reminds me of Minecraft. You're talking to like the explodey zombie, a creeper, right? But he's in a suit. I think that's fun. And you could see that when we did just a variation strong of it, we got the same concept, big green dude talking to interviewer, but it changed the kind of because we are doing a variation strong within the style, within this liminal style, it doesn't diverge very much. It keeps it all within this, and it looks great. So if I wanted to do a right, yeah, it's just like okay, a very corporate version of like a play session of Minecraft. Yeah, yeah, we could definitely do that. That'd be fun. Um, but while that's going, maybe this is talking to dinosaurs. Okay, cool. You could see here that when we did the variation strong with Sage's art, suddenly it's no longer a comic. It's this like median of speech bubbles and boxes, right? Um, it really isn't that useful for me to be able to do this. It does look great. Don't get me wrong. It always looks great, but we don't really get any control or direction of this because we're just simply hitting variation strong. If we then gave it direction, we would get much more better, but at least much more functional results for what I'm doing here. So we're just gonna kind of explore a little bit of what you guys are doing, and of course Mavis is just going hard here. But take a look at this here. So this one was a remix by Lizzie, and she has the character art for Sage in there, and it's with her style code. Very cool. And I can definitely see like a high school version of Sage right here. Like this is super cool actually. I like this one. Whoa. The alien counter one's going hard now. I really like this. I like how he's kind of crunchy eyed on the fourth one here. It's like angry. Um, but if you see comic panels in your prompts, it's really fun just to hit zoom out and see what sort of story Midjourney kind of contrives for you. You can do the same thing with custom zoom. Just change the aspect ratio to 1:3 or 1:2. Make sure the zoom is set to like 1 or 1 point, just a low number so that nothing really changes too dramatically in terms of the image. And you'll get some really cool wide tall shots, or sorry, wide tall pages for exploring what at least what Midjourney might predict is the next panel or anything like that. So it almost looks like it says Tylenol on the screen. So that's all right. Okay. Let's take a look at what we got. I'm loving all these like wicked goat faces and stuff like that. Police interrogation, lizardmen, policemen yelling. Yes. Yes, I like these anthropomorphic lizardmen. Yes. Wait, did we just find a whole kind of like subgenre of like buddy cop lizardmen? Because this is great. I'm really liking what Boken's doing here. Wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great if they're all like it's normal dialogue bubbles, like it looks like that's a complete story that we have here, but wouldn't it be great if it's all just hissing, like it's all just like inaudible? Yeah, yeah. I mean, Zootopia is all like predators versus like like yeah, yeah, it's all mammals, right? Like for the most part, but it would be really funny to do like a lizard men version of Zootopia where it's all reptiles. Um, that'd be great. And I'm really digging some of these alien worlds you guys are coming up with here. Very, very cool. But I really want to show you guys this because this is really important for me. Um, I just did a zoom out of that one comic that didn't have that much information to it. It was just like a little bit of Sage here in the middle and a little bit of her hair on the side. But because it had a clear border and panel, we got like mostly consistent Sage all the way through here because it's referring to all my images. It only says funny webcomic her blonde. And by it's just like incredible. Like I haven't even expressed Sage's emotion to have that level of kind of sincere like concern yet, and it's there. It's there on the bottom right. So I'm upresing that. Very, very cool. Oh, look at these little guys. Look at him. That's great. Um, got more creepers, business creepers. I like it. Um, more funny webcomic with creeper. Okay, I see. But here is where we start to get into the expansion stuff, where I'm basically saying, hey, custom zoom. All right, look at that. The original image is just the middle section of it here. It then predicts the panel above it and the panel below it. And all these are like, a little bit off, right? But they work. Like I could easily just keep re-rolling these until I'm happy with the results. When you talk about doing crazy stuff with Midjourney, it almost all comes down to like expanding and outpainting and all that kind of stuff. At least for me. And you can see here that we got this real fun like upres from Lizzie. If we now hit variation subtle, I'll switch that to Niji, but then I'll also set an image weight to 2. What that's going to do is it's going to refer much more closely to the actual images and try to get those to match. So we can do that with this one too. And because we're doing a variation subtle, we're not losing all the stuff that we gained from our tune, from the tunes that you guys have been using. So it's very cool. The main negative with using too high of an image weight is that it just looks really kind of derpy. It just looks really like low effort. But more and more comics. I love seeing all these comics. Oh wow. Found footage of Alien. Nice. Mavis yelling at Lizard Cop. Yeah. Lizard men are taking over. Yeah, they are. Scroll back down over here. Yeah, some of these aliens are real intense looking. Okay. 500 punk lizards. Lizard people. Wow. I'm actually kind of surprised how well that worked. Not 500 of them, but there's certainly a bunch of them. Wow. Yeah, that third one's real intense. It's like an advanced version of the Muppets, like Dark Crystal kind of that stuff. Like that's awesome. I'm actually gonna upres that too because it's cool. Okay. So you can see that this is one of the ones where I switched it to Niji from Lizzie's prompt, and a lot more of the expressions make more sense because it's drawing on almost exclusively anime in order to kind of fill in some of these faces. Take more of a look here. Yeah, all these lizard men are really cool. There's a lot of them though. All right, we're basically caught up here at this point. I'm gonna hop ourselves back over to chat here. All right, let's see here. Can I upload an image to AI? He can't draw what I want. I just want my picture gonna transform into a drawing. Well, I have to infer kind of what you're saying here, but you can definitely use an image to generate an image prompt, and the image works a bit differently than the words do. I'm gonna move on to the next question though for now. Question from Relogia Dagoa. I'm just gonna call you Relo. From Relo. Do you know why the zoom function puts an oval of darkness around Midjourney models' gend images and not Niji? Okay. So the thing is that the vignetting effect that happens when you zoom out. I mean, I'm not the person to tell you exactly why that is, but generally speaking, you want to you want to kind of look at it as like the light from the space is going to be like kind of brightest, or try to put focus on whatever is the feature set or whatever is the main subject of your prompt. What tends to happen is that means that there's a subtle gradient. It can be very, very subtle and it still picks this up. But there'll be a subtle gradient going, slightly darker towards the edge of frame to the subject in the middle. That subtle gradient is all you need to eventually end up with a vignette, because it's going to just get more and more expanding on that gradient. And there's only one direction that gradient can go, which is darker, usually. And I mean that as in, like, especially with those kind of like spooky liminal empty spaces that we got earlier, you'll see that a lot, because there's a lot of opportunity for it to go, oh, okay, this is pretty easy for me just to put a vignette on this and then call it a pretty image. Yeah. But okay. So at this point, I'm gonna take another breather so I can get a little more of a drink in me, and then I think we're gonna move on to our challenge for today. This is going to be a bit of an interesting challenge. I will be having Mavis here to kind of go through it, but just give me a minute, and I'll see you guys here in a sec. Feel free to ask any questions in the meantime. I'll leave the chat open here. Question from Fade here. Yeah, I'm happy to answer it. Let me pop myself back in here. Okay. All right. So from Fade, my characters in a story are more realistic looking than cartoon drawings / anime. Trying to get them in different poses while maintaining their identity has been a real pain in the ass. Yeah, I hear you. Am I kind of screwed using realistic photo style characters, or is there an extra trick to it? Okay. I'll go through my live action demo really quick for you. Okay, Fade. You are asking it for it to be harder because you have more variables with live action than you do with the drawn aesthetic. Let me show you this really quick. So if I go to victorgnarly.com and you click on Chrome Lords, this is my live action demo. And this was done by essentially following the exact same tutorial workflow that I have. You can get to it by hitting Movie Machine on the top here and clicking the button to read the tutorial. But essentially, the results that I got out of it were a continuous 1980s like schlocky, like worse than B movie actor, right? And I essentially just injected his face alongside a full body turnaround of a man in a leather jacket. And I'll load up what his turnaround looked like here in a minute. But the story itself is pretty straightforward. It's me trying to recreate a trailer, essentially. But Chet is super relatively continuous throughout all of this. It kind of a Mel Gibson median of a lot of different 80s actors. So the way that this was done, I'll pop myself over to Discord here. Go to my Discord. And let me scroll on down to Chrome Lords here. And so if I scroll all the way up, we see we have a bunch of image references from the original prompter. His name was Jarts, and he made a bunch of really cool prompts related to this. But the thing is that Chet is largely built of, and I'll just copy this over so that you guys can have this too. Yeah. Pop back over to Midjourney here. I'll post this inside of the text here. VC text. This is the entire character sheet for Chet. You can see that it's enormous in comparison to Sage's comic sheet, and I'll just grab Sage's really quick to compare. All right. Compare these two sheets. You'll notice the prompts that I'm injecting do not have all these images in it. Sages, I don't really change much about. I maybe swap out an expression or two, right? But with Chet's, I was like every subtle lighting change needed a different version of Chet. So if I zoom in here, I'll just open this up here. If I zoom in here, what you're noticing here is mostly the same expression with different lighting applied to it, right? So we have one where there's a blowout of white light. That's like essentially like a the opposite of a rim light, where it's all blown in the face and it's all dark around it. The a pretty standard one in the middle, and then and a shadowed one on the bottom left. The idea here is that all these different sort of lighting effects, like the way the skin plays with light, you need to be considerate of when you're doing these prompts, because live action has the annoying factor that reality exists inside of the space. So you have to be more considerate of, like, you can notice the difference between these two is one of them he has a light on his face, and the other one he doesn't, because sometimes I need Chet to be like angry in the dark, not angry in the dark lit up by something. So the lighting is your main kind of battle when it comes to live action. And so I just had to go hard. Like I literally just kept going until I felt like I had, you know, enough variety that I could at least light Chet in all sorts of different scenarios. So you'll also notice that all the prompts look left to right. So like I'm basically going, all right, looking left and then looking right. Like that's kind of the, if I need him to look in a certain direction or a certain way, I just lean towards the sheet in that area, and then I pick one with the appropriate lighting. So this is what made this project take forever, was the fact that I went this hard on the character design stuff. So yeah, I hope that helps. I'm new, so forgive me. How do you generate your character sheets? By hand, AI, some combination? Combination, yep. Okay. So I know we didn't get into this at the start at all, and that probably kind of funked a little bit of the kind of flow we normally got here. But um, the character sheets themselves are basically if Ninja doesn't know if images are left to right, it mirrors them when it uses them as an image prompt. Yeah, that is true. It doesn't actually know the direction, but for lighting, it can be pretty important. Like it's even if the image gets mirrored, if the rim light on the character is in the wrong place, it won't make sense. So there are additional factors there. But for me anyway, when whenever I was kind of putting together these sheets, a lot of them are kind of coming off of my tutorial workflow, which Kinky linked earlier inside of VC Text. Um, Essentially, that workflow creates a full body turnaround, and that turnaround is what you use to then inject into these prompts to create a relatively continuous character. A lot of people that have been using their own slash tunes, like their own style codes and stuff, they can essentially get much more repeatable, reliable results, because they know that every variation is going to follow the rules of their slash tune. All these aliens look awesome. We actually had trouble making aliens not even that long ago, so seeing you guys going nuts from the movie Signs prompt is pretty cool. um Lots of abandoned warehouses and other neat stuff like that. I love this sage. That looks great. From Lizzie. Yeah. Um, from here though,